Okay, rolling.
Okay. First question then is, who most influenced you in your love of cricket?
Well, I suppose my father, really. But we didn't play cricket much at school, and we didn't play on any real playing field until I was 15. So played on the common here, on the dirt pitch, you know. I don't know, we were just interested in it from the time we were, well, when we were little boys, really. Dad was keen on sport, but he was a bricklayer, and he had to work 6 days a week, so he didn't have much time to be with us. So we picked it up at school, really, and we had each other, of course, which was wonderful. We could play, always had someone to play with, which was good. But in those days, there was no real here. There was nothing at all. You just picked up, go to school, and say 4 o'clock in the afternoon, it was coming up to a game of cricket on the common. There was no coaching. There was no masters looking after you. You looked after yourself.
And many friends around, or people that you knew that also played as well, to encourage you to play?
Well, all the kids we went to school with, of course, those were keen. Well, we eventually played, joined the local club when I was about 14, but otherwise we played amongst ourselves. I can't say that it was anyone specifically took an interest except Dad. We just played.
Okay, I'll come back to that. Just thinking about, what is your favourite cricket ground and why?
I don't care where, as long as I'm getting people out. That was Now I like obviously Lords, but in Australia I like playing at Sydney from the before they put all the buildings up, when the breeze used to come through there. But when the ball's doing something, Melbourne's not one a bad place to bowl.
One of the biggest grounds as well.
Yes. It used to be Melbourne when we played. It was a big pitch, but the weather changed, as you know, in Melbourne, and some days it would be humid and that sort of, the ball would move there. I enjoyed playing in them all. In the days I didn't like, although it was a lovely ground, Adelaide, the pitch was so good, so I didn't like that too much.
Okay, what do you believe to be your greatest character strength?
My character. That's a difficult thing to answer, really. I like to think I always did the right thing, and like to make friends, always like friends. The character just otherwise live a decent sort of life, I should say. That's all I can say. Yeah.
From a cricket side, perseverance, would you say? Your attitude towards the game?
Oh yeah, I loved it. Bloody hard work. Yeah. But it was. I loved playing. And we play football in the winter, though. You see, people don't realise that here we played football. Played until the end of April. The FA Cup final in the end of April. That finished football until September. So cricket was the big game in the summer. But the thing that's changed so much now is, they play football all the time, and that's got a big influence on how many young people come and play cricket now, because as footballers and that, they're all talented. But in the old days, they'd play football in the winter and cricket in the summer. But now someone playing football have to choose. They choose where the most money is. That's what it amounts to. So it's a different world.
It has changed a lot. Just for the moment, which cricketer do you most admire and why?
Well, I always admired them. Well, I always admired the good ones when I was young. Well, of course, Don was the man, because I was a good friend of Don, so I admired him all the time, right from the beginning. But then there was Jack Hobbs, was a lovely, humble chap he was, Jack Hobbs. Great player. And Wally Hammond. and the Australians, Bill O'Reilly, I admired him. But of course, when I was a boy, when the Australians came here, it was a great thing. You see, I knew all the names of them all, Bill Ponsford, all these people. I admired them all. I thought it was great. That's what I wanted to be. Yeah.
Okay. Which cricketer from any era would you most like to have batted with, and why?
Batted? I don't know about batted, I suppose. I haven't thought of that. I don't know. I've got no idea.
Anybody over time you have seen people playing and thought, you know, to be in a partnership with them would have been an enjoyable time?
Well, you can keep listing them off. All great players. You'd like to bat with them, wouldn't you? Yeah. So, everyone says Don, of course you would. And then Jack Hobbs. Jack Hobbs would have probably been a better English chap, but he was a wonderful player. Jack was such a great player on wet wickets. Actually, I played with him once, Eric and I did. We played in a charity match with Jack when he was 50 odd, and he got some runs, and he still seemed to have so much time to play the ball. He was a lovely bloke too, very humble. Mm.
Okay, well, leads us on to which cricketer from any era would you most like to have bowled with, and why?
I don't know. Probably Ray Linmore, I think. Yeah. I reckon he was in 1946. He was he was always a fine bowler, but he was pretty quick in 1946. Yes, well, I always admired him. The others, one or two against when we got. In Test cricket, I had 17 different opening partners, so it was a bit of a choice you got to pick with that lot. Some of them were no good, and some were all right. But the Englishmen, of course, I played with Freddie Truman, and I didn't mind. Quite frankly, I didn't mind.
Right.
It didn't worry me at all. I just got on with what I was going to do.
Okay. And how did it feel to take your first 5-wicket haul?
In a Test match?
In a Test match, which would have been your debut?
Well, no. How did it feel? We were on the cricket's professional staff here before the war. At 19, I joined up. So I did 7 years in the war, and I didn't play cricket for 2.5 years because I was in North Africa. And by the time I came out, I was nearly 28. So in point of fact, I hadn't played for 2.5 years. I came back, I was demobbed in March 46, and in April 46 reported to the Oval because we were all pros, and went and had about 2 weeks in the nets, and I played 8 or 9 championship matches, and county championship matches in those days, and had a test trial and got picked for England. So when you asked me which is the best, well, it was that I got 11 wickets in the match, so that wasn't bad. My first test match I played in, not having played for 2.5 years, and I thought, well, that wanted a bit of beating.
It was India.
That was against All India.
That's right.
And then we went to the next test match and I got another 11 wickets. So I got 22 wickets in my first 2 test matches.
Quite a good start then.
It wasn't a bad start. So I soon found out a bit different when I got to Australia, when I was Don Bradman. It was a different game then, but still. It was a good start.
You were saying earlier about the difference of the ball out there as well, it being scuffed up and just different wickets to play on.
Oh, the pitches in Australia then were, they used bull eye soil. I think it was a soil that and it was like a rock, just pitch concrete then. And one of the reasons why Australia never had before the war, to any marked degree, was they had no off spinners and no slow left arm bowlers. You had to be a leg spinner. So when we went there in 46, every side had a leg spinner. Even when we went up country games, they all had leg spinners. Because the ball wouldn't turn on the other, you see. That was a great difference between Australia and here in those days. But the pitches changed a bit.
Obviously, finger spinners, don't quite turn it as much as a leg spinner.
Well, finger spinners can't. No, they can't turn it on the. Well, slow left armour, they underspin it, so it's skidded. But leg spinners, they overspin it. So the overspin gives it bounce.
Yes.
Whereas with an off spinner, if it doesn't turn, it skids. Yeah.
Okay. What does the spirit of the game mean to you?
Well, I think it's a great development of character, really, and that's the thing that I always try to impress the kids. When I was a kid, who used to think, well, I look back and think, well, that did a lot to create your character. I mean, playing in a team to start with, not want something all yourself, although some of them are pretty selfish, or were. But nevertheless, it developed a character. Cricket, I think, is a wonderful game.
It's almost the ultimate team game,
yes.
Because you have an individuals at any one time performing,
yes.
But for the good of the team.
Yes, it's an unusual game because although it's a team game, it's an individual game. But in the process, they've still got to think of the team. And you've got one or two who didn't quite do that. I could name them, but I won't.
But over time, there must have been some players on the other side of that were very, very good team players.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Well, basically, we all were, if you wanted to win anything. We generally, well, the county scene, we won the championship 7 years running here, and we had a wonderful team spirit then.
Did you use many players over those 7 years, or was it a core of?
Basically, no, we didn't. Well, we had no such a thing as coaches or anything like that. We won 7 years, and we never used to break down very much. I mean, I played in 51 Test matches and never come off the field. Now they're coming off every 5 minutes to have a drink.
A lot has been said of how much cricket is being played now.
Well, that's rubbish. I mean, when we played a county championship, when we professionals, we played every day. And we played 36 championship matches, 3 matches each, three days each. So we played every day. So in a season, I'd bowl 1,200, 1,300 overs. Now they're lucky if they bowl 500. Yeah. They play plenty of this tuppenny halfpenny stuff. I mean, there's plenty of that. But when they talk about being bowling too much and playing too much, from April 46 until August 47, it was about 16 months, I bowled 3,000 overs. So when they talk about play too much now, I mean, they don't know what they're talking about. There's such a thing as feeling tired and getting on with it, isn't there?
Absolutely right. How optimistic are you for the future of the game?
Well, I think the sad thing is there's so many distractions now for young people. There's so many things they can do. So I should imagine it's a job to get them to go into it because there's so many diversions they can have. You see, and I'm talking about England now. They can move about where they like, where the money is. To me, they've lost that county spirit. See, we've got some county sides now. They've got, I'll just illustrate it. There's Derbyshire. They were playing Surrey the other day. They only had 3 Englishmen playing in it. The rest were South Africans who come over here, EU people. None of them qualified to play for England. They're all mercenaries, really. That's what it amounts to. But you can't stop them. We tried to stop them, you see.
And over time, 18 counties have
17 counties.
have been very strong.
Well, in the old days, in the counties, you joined the thing. You had only ever had a yearly contract, but if you wanted to move counties, you had to qualify for 2 years. So if I was playing for Surrey, and so I wanted to go and play for Middlesex, I'd have 2 years qualification and not playing in first class cricket. But that doesn't happen now.
The loyalty to your probably home county back then was much more prevalent.
Well, I think so. Well, there's no such thing as a home county for most of them. They come from South Africa and India, everywhere.
The structure of the game hasn't really changed. Do you think over time that we have the right structure to produce the next set of good English players?
Oh, well, the structure has changed. The count, as I say, we played 36 first-class matches. Now they only play 16, and you can't produce cricketers unless they play. And I was on the chairman of selectors, and I won't tell you who the fellow was. He was going to put everything right, and he said, "There's too much cricket. We've got to get this." So I said, "I don't agree with you." So I said, "If you can tell me you can get better by not playing, then I'll agree with you. But there's only one way to play, is get out and play in the middle." And that's gone. Well, it hasn't gone. We play this, what I call this tuppenny halfpenny stuff, this 20-20 and all this, which is not a cricket match, really.
I was going to ask you about the different forms of cricket that are coming. The one day with a result, and then the 20-20 cricket, which has got, I guess, a lot of people watching the game, but not really cricket in your eyes.
No, they're not cricket minded. When they first brought limited over cricket here, we started it here, 1962, and it's called the Gillette Cup, and it was a one-day match, the first thing. And they asked me what I thought, and I said, well, I think if we could continue and do too much of this, you're going to undermine Test cricket and the standard of play. And I think it has.
May end up being two different and separate entities.
Well, you don't get you get some good players now. I mean, they come, but they don't come through like they used to. To me, I'm talking in England. Australia hasn't changed it so much, you see. I mean, they play. You see, the grade system in Australia is far different to us. But they play, even now, I think they only play one limited over game. The States only play each other once in what I call limited over cricket, whereas we were playing limited over cricket all the time. I didn't agree with that. So I've made a lot of I tried to do my best to stop it, because eventually it was necessary for money. See, money came into the whole thing. Once the television came in, that changed the whole aspect of the thing.
So now more so driven by the money as well.
Oh, yes.
People are playing the game as opposed to for the love of it.
Yes, money, and more than that. In the days when we played, the senior player used to stay in the game to a marked degree, but now they all go on television or somewhere. They don't stay in the club and just because there's so much money outside of the game. You see, it's another world.
Very, very different. Okay, we've got some questions here from Neil Harvey. Wanted just to ask you and to your responses. Mainly going back to early days, and asked us how critical was your development, or in your development, was Alan Peachey's cricket school in Woking?
Well, let's start about Neil. I met him first. I was a great friend of his brother, Merv Harvey. And in Victoria, we were playing Victoria in 1947. And he said, "You better meet my young'un," he called him. and he was about 18 then. He said he's going to play for Australia, which of course he did. And I still call him young and now. Ever since from those days we were great friends, old Neil. Yes, he was a lovely bloke, bloody fine player. What was the question you asked?
Just asking about, it was interested in how critical was Alan Peach's cricket school in Woking and your memories of being at the cricket school.
Well, Alan Peach was an ex-Surrey professional, a lovely chap. And the cricket school was in some factory building which wasn't being used. And it was two pitches, coconut matting on concrete. And dear old Alan used to come, he was there after he'd finished playing, retired, earning some money, being a coach. And they opened this cricket school at Woking, and when they opened it, of course, I'd never seen anything like that before. It was very basic. And I went up there, my brother and I went up there to see old Alan, and he had a Surrey blazer on, and we thought, crikey, we like that. And then we used to go up there all hours God sent to bowl, and just because we were mad on it. And that was it. And he's the only chap who influenced me at all. And he was a lovely bloke, and we'd bowl hours on end. And I realised that he was so pleased that we came there and bowled, because he used to get tired to have to keep bowling to coaching people, you see. But all he used to say, if he had a boy he wanted to be half driving, he'd say, "No, I want you to bowl half volleys outside his off stump." We were only about 16, 17. And we tried like hell to do what old Alan wanted. So that's the influence we had. We thought so much of him. He's such a lovely bloke, he was. Oh, but no shouting, nothing, just... if you did well, he just used to go like that. That's all.
That coach's manner is very important, isn't it, to get the best out of people?
Well, the coaching is... I think there's too much coaching. He didn't coach. First of all, he saw, obviously, he saw we had some ability. He didn't really think he wanted any actual coaching. All he told you about the principles, what the game was about. And he never changed. See, I think people mess around with actions too much. I'll tell you a story, which is I bowled late in-swingers, which was natural. I never bowled with a new ball until I was 18. We used to play with an old compo, something like that ball there. And the ball didn't go, it just went straight. I mean, we tried to bowl straight when we were boys and knock the stumps over, but the ball didn't swing, never saw it swing, until I went and played for Woking's first 11, because when we played in the second 11, we only had used balls, couldn't afford the thing. So they said, "You better play in this match at East Molesey." And I was 18, I think. And they said, "You better open the bowling." I ran up with the first time I ever saw a new ball in my life. And it swung like a boomerang. The action, I had a good action, you see. No one told me the action. No one said, I just did it as a boy. And the ball, the swinger went and whistled like this. I thought, oh, that's funny. I got 6 wickets, I did. I thought, well, it's a pretty easy game, so that's what happened. And that's what I bowled. And in the old days, to be technical, in the old days, before the war, there was, you couldn't be LBW for in-swinger pitched outside, because they used to pad up. Then they brought in what was called the LBWN rule as an experiment. So if someone padded up and the ball, well, they were pitched outside, swung and was going to hit the wickets, you could be given out, which made a big difference to the bowling in-swingers. So I went to the Oval, and the first season of bowling, this 18 the boy, and there was a chap, I won't tell you who it was. He had a cricket school and everything else, And I was bowling in the net my first week there, and old Alan Peach was the Surrey coach then. He'd been appointed Surrey coach, and I was in the net, and this chap came up to me. He said, "You'll never be any good," he said, in first class. He said, "You've got to learn to bowl an outswinger." And he said, "You've got to do this, that, change your action." And luckily for us, old Alan was the coach. And for me, he came over and he said, "What's he saying to you?" "Well, Mr. Peach, he's telling me to..." He said, "Don't you take any bloody notice of him or anyone else," he said. "You get on as you're going." That's what I call coaching. Because the biggest mistake there is people trying to alter people's natural action.
Yeah, we see it all the time, and of course it puts people back.
Well, I'm convinced this chap, Johnson, who's got playing now, he's a bloody... I reckon he was... Someone had told him that... I mean, his natural in-swinger he's got, you can see when he got it, and he bowled across the line of the thing, which is left arm. But I think someone told me you've got to learn to bowl an outswinger. So that means you've got to change your action. See, and I reckon that buggered him up.
Messed him up, yeah, okay. Do you want to just hold there for a sec then?
Yeah.
Just give me a...
Not a talking, I don't know where you are.
No, it's great. I mean, I was just going to say, to go on from that, talking about seeing the Blazers, how easy was the decision for you and Eric to become professional cricketers?
Well, it wasn't easy because we left school at 14 and we got a job in a solicitor's office as clerks, as office boys. And Dad had been a bricklayer and didn't want us to go into the building because you didn't get paid if you didn't. If it was raining and they stopped work, there was no money. If it frosty, you couldn't work. It was a damned hard life it was, so they said, "No, you won't do that." So the object of the exercise was to look to a safe job. That's what the depression we're talking about, 1932. So we worked in the solicitor's office and we stayed there for 5 years, brother and I, in the same office. And we wanted to play cricket, really. So we worked in this office, and the rises came round, and a fella who'd been to a better school than we were, I taught him what to do, and at the end of the rise they gave him £1 a week and only me 5 shillings. So I said, "Why is that?" They said, "Well, he went to a better school than you did." So I said, "Well, we're going to play cricket." So the old boss said, "You'll regret that for the rest of your life," but it didn't. So we left. That's what caused us to go. It was a big decision actually, because if we'd have failed at the Oval, you only had a year's contract. You had to find a job, labour or something. So it was a big decision to make.
And getting one here, I'm just talking about that. Your observations between amateurs and professional players back then. Was there a gap between the two sort of players in that instance?
No. People make a big thing about it. They've got to realise we grew up with that. It was their way of life here, you see. So it was only anyone with a chip on their shoulder, but you had to get on with it. They were amateurs, they weren't paid, we were. We were employed by the club, we were employees, and the amateurs weren't. They just played for fun. And I used to get some back money, I suppose, but that was the difference. But some of it was wrong. I mean, because of that, they took precedence over some of the good young players. So there were wrong things to that. But I never really saw that. I just got on with what I was going to do. I mean, I couldn't. It didn't seem to me. I said, we've been in the forces. The officers had a different mess to the sergeants, didn't they? The corporals had another mess. they didn't mix together, so what's the difference?
And just talking about the war years. Do you remember the early games back, having come back from the war, and you said you were demobbed, and then back into the Surrey team?
Yeah, straight away. Yeah, we played 32 matches. Oh yes, went straight into the cricket.
Must have been an enjoyable time.
Oh, lovely! I enjoyed everything. It was no money, but we were all. You see, for Surrey then we were all basically local Surrey boys. We grew up together, so it was a different feeling altogether. I imagine so. I don't know.
A real nice community.
Yeah, it was. It was a great life, really. No money, but still.
So just moving ahead a bit here, again, a question from Neil. The 46 to 47 tour to Australia was captained by Wally Hammond, one of your great heroes. What was your experience of Hammond as a captain, and how much had his batting changed, do you think, over the war years?
Well, he was older. He was a magnificent player before the war. As a captain, he wasn't much good. He never spoke to me hardly at all. And of course, that trip in 46, it was wonderful that it went, because it gave me the opportunity to go to Australia, which I fell in love with Australia. Nearly emigrated there about 3 times, but the team itself, because of the war, we hadn't played for 5 years. I mean, there's no contest really. There was only 3 chaps. That was myself, Godfrey Evans, and Jack Eichen were the only 3. Oh, Dennis was just about 30. Were the only 3 under 30. All the rest were 36, 37. All old, too old, you see. Out of it, past it. That's why we had no hope at all, but that didn't matter to me. I was pleased to be there. I didn't want to come home. It was hard work, I might tell you, bowling, because I had to bowl most of the time, really, because the others were too old. Blokes like Bill Vose and Jim Langridge and all that, they're about 36. Couldn't stand it.
Neil asks here, are you prepared to comment on the Eichen incident in the first test? It was a rare moment of controversy for Bradman. Did it set the tone for the series, or was it quickly forgotten?
Well, I don't think Wally Hammond forgot it, but I was fielding a short leg then, and it was one of these things. Was a bit of doubt in it, sort of half pinched the ball. You couldn't really, but it probably was out because the ball went to second slip, and it if it had been pinched, it usually goes in a bit of an arc, but this went straight there. But I think that was the best thing that ever happened to cricket, in being given not out, because I don't think he'd have played again, because he wasn't well. I mean, I think it meant he wouldn't come to England in 48, and that made the tour. So if you're broad-minded about it, to me it was the best thing that happened. That he was given not out.
Of course, the 48 tour. How eagerly was that tour anticipated?
Oh, everyone thought it. They couldn't wait to see it. Yes, I mean, they lauded it all. Couldn't get into places to play in county games. It was great for the counties. You see, then the touring side played all the counties once, and so many people couldn't afford to come to the test matches. Local counties like Leicester, but they'd all turn up to see them there. So you've got full houses, big crowds for the club as it is, because they wouldn't get too many. Might get 3,000 or 4,000 to watch them play in a county game, but they'd fill the place up when the Australians came, because it was the only opportunity they had to see them. I mean, it was a wonderful kick to English cricket. It was.
Of course, they went through the whole series unbeaten in 31 games. The Invincibles.
Well, they had a good side, and we still hadn't recovered from the war. Don't forget, that was only 18 months since we hadn't played at all. So people don't realise that. They don't realise it wasn't until 1951 that we began to find players like Statham and Truman, and then about 51, 52. Took quite a while. Still on rationing we were then, see.
Okay, just again moving ahead a little bit here. The only bowler to ever dismiss Sir Donald twice for a duck in Test cricket, 46, 47 and 1948. And he described the ball that you got him in 46 to 47, the best he'd ever faced. Did you ever consider you had found a weakness in his batting, or did you sort of raise your game a notch or two when you were bowling to him?
No, I just tried. No, he was a little bit older. People say it might not have happened, but because I didn't bowl an in-swinger, didn't bowl an out-swinger. When I was in Australia in 46, I realised I had to make the ball leave the bat, and I didn't want to bowl a swinger. And what happened? In the second Test match at Sydney, we lost to bowling, and Sid Barnes, he was a great player off his legs. So I thought, I can't bowl in-swinger to Sid, because so I remembered, I thought, I've got to stop it swinging. So I remember old Alan saying that, dear old Alan Peach, he said, if you want to stop the ball swinging, he said, hold it across the seam, like that. So I held it like a leg break with the ball. I'll show you. Instead of holding it like this, I put it across the seam with my fingers like that. And being an in-swinger, so the first ball I bowled in the second innings in the second Test match at Sydney in 1946, with a new ball, I held it like that. And I ran up, and of course I had the same action. And I suddenly I analysed it afterwards. But instead of it swinging like that, it went away like a leg break off the pitch, it did. I think, God, I must have spun it, which I did. So I go back to bowl the next ball, and the chap at mid-on was a bloke named Peter Smith. He said, you can't hold a new ball like that. I said, why not? I said, I've just seen something happen. And I bowled another one. It took a long time to get it, but I gradually, and in the end I used to spin it off these fingers. So it was a spinner. When they talk about cutters, they just hold it like that and hope for the best. But I actually spun it, and which gave me a big advantage if there's anything in the pitch at all. It just gripped a little bit. Didn't do much, but just enough. So that's the history of that.
Brilliant. Well, of course, wickets over time have also changed, haven't they? Uncovered to covered wickets.
We started in uncovered pitches because that gave a good advantage when I bowled like I did, because I bowled it only slightly slower than normal. So once I began to control it, of course, it was, although I say it myself, it was unplayable. And the thing is, Don knew it. That's what happened there. The ball swung in a bit at him, and he was playing it down with the thing, but it gripped on the thing and went away and hit his off stump. So we realised I could do it, because we went to Sydney on the fifth Test match, and the wicket just took a little bit, and I did it there again and didn't get him out. I got him caught at cover, but it just did it enough to make him think. I'm sure that had the effect of him being playing and getting caught in there, but that was my theory.
And the ball you're just showing us there has got some scratches at that. That's from Melbourne, you were saying?
This was 46.
Okay.
No, I didn't know how to do it then. Yes, it's 50, this is. Oh yes, this is 1950, this was. Oh yeah, I knew then. Yeah. Because I got 30 wickets on the tour, 30 at 16. And I came back here and and the next series, Ashes was here, I got 39 wickets at 17. So I got 69 wickets at 17 in 10 Test matches, which is terrible to talk about yourself, but you might as well know.
Well,
And I'm the only one I'm the only bowler who's ever got 30 wickets or more against Australia in Australia, and 30 or more wickets against Australia in England. I'm the only one today.
that's and it needed to learn these deliveries.
Well, I did do, especially here in 53 when we won the Ashes. Because it got to the point that they all knew it then, you know. I mean, if you talk to Neil and them. Because I used to be able to bowl Arthur, the left-hander, if I did that, and make the ball come back into him. And left-handers don't get many like that, you know. Not off the pitch. Leg spinners they would, but they won't get anyone a little bit quicker. No, Neil reckons it was... He reckons I won a bad bowler, old Neil.
Just going back to Sir Don for a moment there, how would you describe his style of batting?
Well...
Anything particular that was different from other players from that sort of that Test
a lot
era?
of things, concentration, ability, of course, foot movement, everything really. Play each ball on its merits. A bad ball he dispatched. More often than not, a real for 4. On the ground too. He hit the ball on the ground. Did old Neil tell you the story about what in 48 when he was here? He was so shy of talking to Don, I believe. So he was a mate of old Sam Loxton then, and he said to Sammy apparently, ask the governor, what you called him, what I can do to improve my batting. So apparently Sam went to Don, and he came back and Neil said, what did he say to you? Well, he said, tell him to hit the ball on the ground a bit more often.
Sound advice. Sound advice. Very good. Very good.
Didn't he tell you that story?
He mentioned it. He mentioned it, but of course with the two of them there, you can they both sort of find to tell the story. But no, it was very very good. Right, just going to move on here. The 1960 was when you retired from cricket. Yeah. Was that something that you planned, or was it something that just sort of happened?
Oh, I didn't plan it. I thought I was getting old. That was the trouble. Had to find something to do and live it. No one ever offered you a job or anything like that in those days. There was none of this promotional business and all these things that they just walk into a job. You had to go and find a job.
You obviously remained and made a big contribution to English cricket anyway as a selector and as an administrator. Can you describe some of the roles and memories you had sort of from your involvement in cricket after 1960?
Well, I was selector for 12 years, no, 20 years selector, 12 years chairman. So I had a few roles, had a few funny buggers to deal with, and it was interesting. Of course, I went through all the Packer period and everything else. Yes, it was all honorary in those days. Yeah, they paid your expenses, but you had to give up the time. Now it's a job. It's a big job. But the only reason I could do it was because we started a little business, and Eric was here about it. If I went away, he was there to look after it. Otherwise, I couldn't have done it. He's wonderful. I owe everything to him. Without him, I couldn't have given the time. He died 2.5 years ago now. Yeah. No, I owe a lot, everything to him.
It was definitely a special relationship, wasn't it, between the two?
Yeah, we lived together all our life, 87 years. Shared everything. went through the war together. Never got married. Looked after my mother until she was 97, so there you are.
Well, good knock. Just thinking about the changes in that time. You said you know as a selector for that amount of time, or even just watching cricket more recently. What, in your opinion, the best changes that have come into cricket in recent years?
The only big improvement that I think has been the outfielding. All athletic more. They go to the gym, then they break down every 5 minutes, but they this outfielding. I don't think I'd see myself sliding on my arse to stop one run. I'll tell you that much. But it's ridiculous when I score 500 and then someone slides into the siding and hurts his shoulder, can't bowl for 3 weeks. Do you see any sense in that, do you? Yeah.
Ridiculous, isn't it? And we see people's knees, ankles.
Couldn't imagine old Bill O'Reilly doing that.
Okay, worst changes then, just on the other side of the coin, of some things that have come into the game which...
Well, all this limited over cricket, that's what I think is... People want it, but to me it's affected the class, that's what I think. I mean, at the moment in England, we've got no real class batsmen at all. At one time we had... You see, people used to say, got to have uncovered pitches here to go away to compete against Australia because they... But we did pretty well for about 90 years. We produced some magnificent cricketers, and the standard of play when they could play on wet wickets and everything else, it was another game. Far more interesting. We used to play, you see, you play 3-day county cricket, and if you wanted to win the championship, you had to get a finish and win in 3 days. Well, that affected the way you played. I mean, there was none of this sorry with us. You start the game, you'd say, well, by tea time we want so many runs. Well, we declare, because you've got to bowl the others out and try to win the matches. There's none of this, you know, we play this 4-day stuff and each side gets 400, 500, that's one in. What sort of game's that?
Yeah, very, very different.
Yeah.
Just, I think, something to wrap up with, which has sort of been a nice theme you mentioned earlier about the anticipation of the 1948 Australians. Ashes cricket is something very, very special.
Oh, yes.
Your times playing in it and watching it.
The only thing that meant anything to us in our day was, unless you did well against Australia, you didn't reckon you were a very good player. You had to prove yourself by doing well against them. Those were the two teams you played. That's all we thought about, really. I played 20-something games against Australia, but I only played 1 or 2 against New Zealand, and didn't play many of the others. No, that was the game, Australia.
I'm sure they were as
they were the same.
Yeah, the same. Yeah. Okay. Well, I think we're absolutely done. So thank you very much.
Okay.
I just ask one big favour.
Yeah.
One big favour. They're having a fundraising dinner in Sydney, the Sydney Cricket Ground in October for the Don Bradman Foundation.
Yeah.
And one of they're having a prize and awards and things like that, and they're using a video screen.
Yeah.
And they just said they'd love it if you could actually pass on your good wishes to them via the camera.
Yeah.
So would you just do me a favour and actually direct the camera and just say, I hope you're having a great night.
What is it for then?
It's just raising funds for the Don Bradman Foundation.
When?
In October this year.
Oh yeah.
So, you know, even if you say maybe, you know, shame I can't be there, I'll be there for next year, or, you know, but just, it's going to be a black tie do fundraising thing. So just a real fun,
yes.
You know, wish I could be there,
Yeah.
all the best for the evening.
Yeah.
Would you do that?
I'll try to think of something to say. Go on then.
Well, it'll keep rolling. So you have a couple of days if you want. Just
when is it?
It's in October.
And
October 21st.
It's in aid of what?
in aid of the Don Bradman Foundation.
Oh yes. Ready?
Yeah, whenever you're ready, yeah.
I understand that you're having a dinner in aid of the Don Bradman Federation in October. In I presume in Sydney. First thing is I wish I could be there. But may I wish everyone every success. I hope that it will be well patronised. I know that, and as I say, it's a wonderful thing to do, and I'm sure Don would think that too. Good luck to everyone.
Fabulous.
Very good.
Thank you
So,
very
thank you very much.
Perfect.
Right, yeah, brilliant. Whew.
Very good.
Is that a load of rubbish?
No, it was not a load of rubbish.
Not at all, no.
Exactly what we wanted. Well, you asked Jim. Jim, you're the professional here when it comes to interviewing people on the game.
Fantastic.
How was that?
Fantastic. I mean, the nice thing is, I think, Alex, that over time, you know, you could probably talk for half an hour about each of the people.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
different things that have come out from your times with the other bowlers. You mentioned Freddie Truman and other cricketers and things.
I've got a pretty good memory. So.
I have to write everything down myself, but no, brilliant.
Yes,
And thank you very much. It's been fascinating to listen.
Thank you.
And
Well, I think the world. I'd like to show you.
Yep.
That in that packet there.